absolutely beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for 2024. We're Virgo this year. Lots of changing tides, lots happening. The fact is we've got Saturn and Neptune in the vibration of Pisces, and we are also going to start to see these nodes begin to dip into the Virgo and Pisces seas as well. So there is a lot happening in who you are, what's happening with your relationships, as well as some rise to recognition that may be happening for you as well. Now, my job on this channel is to make sure that I'm giving you information to get you really prepared to experience the cosmos and align your life with it for 2024. And to do that this year, I've kicked it up a little notch. And you're not only going to get a breakdown of the outer planets from me, but I have also paired with 4 brilliant astrologers. Wade Caves is going to bring you your financial timing for the year. Christopher Renstrom is going to take care of you in the area of those relationships. Cameron Allen is not only bringing you medical astrology, but also movement, Virgo, to help you in your physical body for 2024. And Tiffany Harlick is going to bring you your spiritual development, tie it all together, and walk you through every quarter of 2024. So Virgo, listen, I'm a Virgo rising. So I'm telling you, there is information in here, and I cannot wait to share it with you. So please grab pen, grab paper, grab your forecasting journals, however you roll, put this on in the background and continue to take it in, because you have got a long video with so much good information to help you throughout 2024 that I don't want you to miss a thing, okay? Now, also to make sure that your toolkit is nice and full, make sure you click in my description box down below to not only reach out to any one of the astrologers that you will see in the video coming up today, but also to take advantage of your digital transit calendar. You want to make sure you've got it just coming right to you, okay, so that you can understand what's happening in the cosmos, all right? So it's all in the description box down below. And don't forget, I will be with you every month, every week. And if you follow me on Instagram, I'm also with you every single day, Virgo. So we've got astrology to talk about. Let's make sure we're staying connected, okay? All right, beautiful Virgos, into 2024 we go. Now, first and foremost, let's just start with this Saturn-Neptune vibration that has been working, and it's been in your 7th house for some time. Certainly Neptune has. Saturn moved into Pisces in 2023, starting to activate the 7th house space for you. So first of all, with Neptune here in this 7th house space of Pisces for you, you know, your ideas around relationships and philosophy and faith in relationships and your ideas and ideals of relationships, some things, Virgo, have gotten like loosened out a little. Some ideas and ideals, maybe even some relationships, some of which could have been long-term relationships in your life, whether it was a job or a person, have been dissolved. And now that makes space for you to crystallize and bring significant new meaning to your 7th house area, to your conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. So for you, Virgo, as I look at it this year, especially having Saturn in Pisces, it's like, yeah, the relationships that couldn't make it, you know, they got tested, and if those cracks were too deep, not fixable, whatever, those relationships probably fell away. But other relationships, you're going to come into them going, we have mastery here, right? Like, we have learned, we have grown, I know what's happening here, and I get to take that mastery and demonstrate my expertise now in these relationship zones. So that's not, again, just romantic relationships, but professionally as well. We'll tell a story of this as well. Now, let's talk about this like expanding professional zone, because as we see Jupiter and Uranus continuing to travel through your 9th house, first of all, Uranus will continue for all of 2024 through this 9th house space for you. And it's been opening you up to not only new ways to expand, publish, market, put yourself out into the world, but different belief systems. And this could be, Virgo, for some of you, it's flat out like different religion, ceremonial, or belief structures around faith, spirituality, things like that. And it's really opened you up to seeing something a different way, which is really very cool. Now, for other ones of you, it's also brought other people into your life, different organizations, different technology into your life that has allowed you to see yourself in the world differently, which I think is really cool. Now, as Jupiter is going to finish its travel in Taurus, what we've got an opportunity here is for your name to kind of be more recognized. And that has been the case here. And I think particularly towards, you know, the late fall, early winter of 2023, we really started to see your name come up in a different way, or, we're seeing you be recognized in a different way. Now, Jupiter also brings to the ninth house this very comfortable vibration of travel. And whatever travel means for you, Virgo, there is an expansion. If it's you're actually getting on the plane, or maybe you're the new model for socks or whatever, and you're doing the promotional advertising, you're starting a YouTube channel, you're doing a podcast, you're teaching, whatever it is, there is this continued expansion that I think goes very well for your name and for your career as we're traveling. Then we're going to see in May that Jupiter jumps into the vibration of Gemini right at the top of your chart, and this is it. This is a setup, I believe, if it's actualized well, for you to have a nice amount of career success and advancement available for you, because Jupiter's also going to give this signal in Gemini that you're around a new network of people, or your network of people that you're learning from, interacting with in your 10th house of careers, soul level calling, and the title that we call you in public has got a bit of change. And when we get new places and we see new faces, this brings change. So, let me know what that looks like for you as you continue to travel. Now, we're also going to see that the nodes are in Aries and Libra for most of the year. It will take a dip into Virgo and Pisces, and I will cover that with you in the monthlies, and I'll cover it with you in the weeklies and dailies as well. But we're going to focus on this Aries and Libra vibration as this is happening in your 8th house and 12th houses respectively. So when we're looking at that Aries North node, it's this energy that's pulling us forward. It's a destiny point saying, come this way, fight for this, usher this in. And that Libra energy is saying your relation to this over here needs to fall out. This doesn't make sense anymore. This needs to change direction. So in Aries, in the 8th house where we've had debt and we need to detox, we need to let something go, we need to look at the way that we are jointly tied to our partners, our trauma, our finances, death, debt, taxes, insurance, our astrology, right? You're ushering, you're initiating a new beginning that is your destiny to move towards. But it also requires that you let go in the 2nd house of something that you've believed around money, your relationship to money. Maybe, Libra is a very business savvy planet. We always think about just relationships, but it's a very business savvy planet. Did you let go of an old company? You don't work there anymore, and that's brought a change to your money. But in relation to whatever you're letting go and beginning, the hope is for you to move them to the middle, find the integration of both of them, because you really want to have this interdependence instead of codependence in my money or hyper independence. I'll handle it all. You want the interdependence of these two financial and intimate areas of your life. It also changes the course of relationships as well. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the nodes are still calling for an active detox of your own doing. Now, speaking of a bit of a detox or a redo, we've also got Mars, the ruling planet of that North Node, stepping into retrograde at the end of the year in the vibration of Leo. So this is going to light up your 12th house space, okay? So this is something hidden. You're working on it behind the scenes, rest, spirituality, things like that. Now, in 2023, between June and October, we saw Venus do her movement and retrograde through this Leo vibration. So I want you to go back right there. What was happening? What was changing for you? What did you and how did you revalue yourself? How did you revalue, Virgo, your creativity, your self-expression, your spirituality, your concept of rest, right? How did those things get revalued? Because Venus really set the tone, is a very personal way to get you cued to what actions need to happen for you to live in those values. And now Mars is going to help you take actions to actually live in what you desire, which is also Mars. So in this 12th house space, you may be working on things behind the scenes. You may be in a position of your life where you changed work, you changed relationships, and you're like, I have the capacity to rest. Like, I can rest now. Or maybe your spiritual beliefs and practices have changed as a result of other changes that have been happening on the stage. Now, last but not least, we are also going to see Pluto, which is big news, making some changes, but it's not entirely new. We're going to see Pluto continue to dance between Capricorn and the Aquarius vibration before it officially moves for its 20-year stay into Aquarius as we're getting towards the end of the year. But dancing here in Capricorn, what it's been doing for you in this fifth house is changing your mind, changing your attitude around children, joy, pleasure, creative hobbies as a actual means, like loving what you do as a means of work and joy and pleasure, of sharing your expression. Now, Pluto it is also, because it's an outer planet, it's been changing the world around you as well. So how you were told it has to be, how you have to work, how you have to live, what your family has to look like, what your role in your family is, all of that has been changing. And now the world, as Pluto jumps into the vibration of Aquarius, is ready for you to bring your creative expression into the world in a very different way. Now, with Pluto moving to Aquarius, one of the things I want you to be mindful is, first of all, to go back to March of 2023, okay? What happened for you in the area of your daily routines, health, wellness, including mental health and wellness, maybe being a caregiver or caretaker to animals or people, if you're an entrepreneur, a freelance person, what was happening around work, because you want to see what was going on for you there, because Pluto will bring similar themes to the table. Now, of course, it's going to bring technology full face into your world. It's going to bring groupings in a way into your world, or it's going to change the groupings you've been around. But also, because this is the sixth house of daily routines and health and wellness, I do think that for some of you Virgos, this can be a season where you're having to really look at, what do I need to break down, let end, it's dying off, it is being destroyed in order to make room for me to live in a different way. So if there are health things that come up, this is the year to take that quite seriously. And sometimes I really think in the sixth house, it's Aquarius. I natally have Aquarius in the sixth house. It's these out of nowhere procedures or surgeries that come up for you where you're like, I didn't even know that was happening or going on. So I want you to be mindful of that. And if you happen to have any procedure happening this year, Virgo, in your health zone, I want you to also take care of your nerves. Aquarius is a very electric energy. Okay, so neurologically, your surgery, you may be healing beautifully, living your best life, but you're like, I can't figure out why this thing. Look to the nerves, okay? But Cameron Allen will take care of you with all of that medical goodness coming up here just shortly. So my beautiful Virgos, I hope you have a gorgeous year. Make sure you click in the description box down below, get your own natal chart so that you can see where these energies are happening for you, not just in the general, but in your own personal chart as well. I've got videos on this channel to show you how to identify where that's at in your own chart. And you can absolutely hop over to stormiegrace.com, where I've got a whole new astrology encyclopedia of aspects, houses, events, lunations happening through all of the chart for you to take advantage of, doing your own little interpretations and understanding what it means for you. All right, beautiful Virgos, enjoy the year. And now I'm going to leave you in the more than capable hands of Wade Caves, who's going to give you your financial timing for 2024. Bye, Virgo.
We've got a bit of a mixed bag for Virgo this year. Lots of great dates to take advantage of. Mars moving in Capricorn, that will be in trine to your sun in Virgo or ascendant in Virgo, whichever it is that you have in that sign. And then at the mid-January, around the 12th, Mars in Capricorn and sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. That is a great combination for taking some pioneering steps, decisive action to expand your financial portfolio. And we see that same aspect reflected back in a different way around April 19th, when Mars in Pisces sextiles Jupiter and Taurus. So all of those cast favorable aspects to Virgo and can be useful for you. Same with July, Mars in Taurus sextiles Saturn in Pisces. Typically, Mars and Saturn contacts aren't terribly favorable, but these are happening in a soft aspect and good signs for Virgo. And so that can be, an advantageous time to make some amendments. But there's also some periods to watch. When Mars moves into Pisces, that opposes Virgo. And so if your sun or ascendant are in that sign, it's definitely not going to be the time to be making big decisions. In April, there's a conjunction between Mars in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, and that in particular is going to be a very tough one and one to watch. Saturn turns retrograde in Pisces, in at the end of June and will stay retrograde for some time. It will station in November, so there will be a period there where Saturn's going to be a bit of a tough energy to work with. And it coincides with Mars moving into Gemini at the end of July, which of course squares Virgo. And it leads into this August period, which is tough for all of the mutable signs, when Mars and Jupiter are conjunct in Gemini, which is actually a good aspect in itself. It's just that at the same time, there's a square with Saturn and Pisces that tends to exaggerate some of the drama that can come from any of these other aspects. So that period is definitely one to avoid. In October, we see Jupiter turning retrograde in Gemini. It's not necessarily, the end of the world, but it is one of those kind of retrograde stations that you want to watch because it's in square to Virgo. And if the degree of your natal sun, the degree of your natal ascendant, if it's in or around 5 degrees of 21 Virgo, then you're definitely going to feel that retrograde. Same thing with Mercury turning retrograde at 22 degrees of Sagittarius at the end of November. So we just want to watch these retrograde passes of both of those planets. And then in December, nearing the winter holidays, Jupiter and Saturn are in square with one another. Again, not going to be the right time to be making big financial decisions. So if you'll be traveling for the holidays, you might want to be looking at getting your tickets early, making sure that the dates are correct, that you've got all that kind of pulled together. Or maybe you just decide to do, a staycation this time around. That might be wise.
Virgo, you're in a funny place emotionally speaking. And I bet you could probably say back to me, I've been in a funny place emotionally speaking, Christopher, since about 2012 or 2013. And that's about the time that Neptune first entered Pisces, your opposite sign. There's this feeling of being at sea emotionally. Now, a lot of times when we think about Virgo and Pisces energy, and remember, Virgo and Pisces sit opposite each other on the zodiacal wheel. Even in the calendar, they're 6 months away from each other. And in the zodiacal wheel, they're 6 signs away from each other. So they sit opposite one another there. When we talk about Virgos and their emotional life, a lot of times the image that comes to mind is a cat being tossed into a swimming pool, right? The cat lands in the swimming pool and it's hissing and it does whatever it can to immediately get out of that swimming pool. Cats do not like water unless they're tigers, but for the most part, they don't like being thrown into pools of water, much less a swimming pool. And so for years, Virgos have felt a little bit adrift or at sea, emotionally speaking. Now, that doesn't mean, over 10 years of clawing your way out of the water and trying to get yourself dry. What the effect of Neptune opposite the sun has done is that it has deepened you emotionally. It's sensitized you emotionally. Now, Virgos are not heartless, unemotional creatures, far from it. But what it is that they think about their emotions a lot. This is what happens with the Mercury-ruled signs. Gemini is another one. And they think about their emotions a lot. And emotions can sometimes be a problem, particularly if you're trying to solve a problem and everyone's getting emotional or hysterical about it. So Virgos like to sort of keep a lid on things or keep things compartmentalized. With Neptune having been in your opposite sign since I think roughly about 2012, 2013, you have to sort of think of waves on a beach. It's been kind of changing your psychic coastline, okay? It's made you more susceptible. It's made you more at times uncertain, and then at times very emotionally focused, but not necessarily having the words or the ideas to go along with it. So there's been a lot of feeling lost, or maybe the ground eroding from underneath you. For a time, there might have been a struggle against that. Right now, I would say you've switched from kitty cat being thrown into the pool to tiger in the water. I mean, you're quite adept at swimming, and you've developed quite a bit of an emotional intelligence. Why am I saying all this? Well, because Neptune is coming to the end of its stay in Pisces. but it hasn't completed its stay in Pisces yet. In fact, it gets to 29 degrees and then it retrogrades back in. So you're going to have a feeling this year that you're on the threshold of making these big emotional decisions in your life. Maybe it's about a relationship. Maybe it's about your self-expression. Maybe it's about, I don't know, deciding to have children on your own. Maybe it's deciding not to have children. Maybe it's love of pets, whatever these emotional decisions, and there's going to be a variety of contexts. You're going to feel like you're coming to a point where you're ready to say goodbye, or you're ready to say, okay, this is it, or this is where I stand on it. And because of the retrograde, think of a wave crashing on the shore, and then it gathers back into itself again to form another wave. You're going to feel like you're also being drawn away from that decision. So in a strange way, it can almost be like a dream sequence or something where you're running down the hall and the hall is getting longer and longer and longer in front of you. Now, I can already hear some of you Virgos out there saying, that's been the story in my past few years. I can't believe I'm going to go through any more of this. It's coming to an end, but we're dealing with the modern planets. Neptune is a modern planet. Pluto is a modern planet. Uranus is a modern planet. Modern planets is the label that we give planets discovered after the year 1781. Okay, they were discovered in the modern age, and they're further away from the sun than all the other planets are, and they take a lot of time to orbit the sun, which means they take a lot of time to travel through a zodiac sign. So we've got kind of Neptune at the end of Pisces, and then we have at the beginning of the year Saturn back at the beginning of Pisces. And what's happening is that Saturn is following Neptune in the sky. It's a faster moving planet, and it's kind of concretizing things as you go along, okay? So in other words, you can have like vague idea, and maybe I'm going to go through, or I thought I was making this decision, now I'm pulling away from it, now I'm making this decision again, and Saturn's going to be like, make the decision now. Okay, so it's going to be sort of like decision made. So it's kind of like a little bit like watching rushes to a film. That's the Neptune, where you have all these rushes and all these different ideas of what this film could look like. And then you've got Saturn as the film editor. Okay, cut. Okay, cut. Okay, cut. Splice, cut, cut, cut. And that's what's going to be going on through this year. So you are making decisions. You are making emotional progress. The big decision for you that I feel is if you're currently single, you may be questioning whether you really want to get involved with someone else again. And so that means there's got to be a someone else there, and there is, and so there might be a lot of internal debate about whether you really want to get involved with someone again. You kind of enjoy the singleness, but you kind of liked being with someone. So this is ambivalent, ambiguous, all things Neptunian, and then if you're in a relationship, you might have gone through some real problems, and you might be asking yourself if you want to continue with this, and that conversation might be beginning, and then you might be walking away from the conversation. So there's a lot of this kind of like back and forth, and one's tempted to say free flow, but Saturn is following on the heels of Neptune. So Saturn is basically closing the doors behind you. So if Neptune's like opening a door of possibility, there's a door of possibility. And while you're looking ahead, Saturn is quietly closing them right behind you, so that you are going to have to decide if you're in or out, literally, by the end of the year, or at least into early 2025. Something that's going to maybe help you is the Jupiter-Saturn squares that will be taking place. Jupiter will enter Gemini, your sibling sign. And so what that's going to do is present you with a lot of possibilities that you've been yearning for. Okay, like suddenly when Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th, it'll be like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could see this person, I could see that person. There's going to be all these sort of like bright, shiny objects, all these possibilities, okay? But because it's squaring Saturn, the first square takes place on August 20th, it'd be like, okay, you can go after that possibility, but you're going to have to give up something to go after the possibility. In other words, you can't take what you have and pursue possibility. All right. And what Saturn does when it squares Jupiter in this fashion is that it gets you to really think about how much you want something and how much you want to leave something. Okay. So this is something that will be very, very powerful on May 25th. Excuse me, May 25th is when Jupiter enters Gemini. It'll be something that's very powerful on August 20th. And then it's going to be something that becomes very, very powerful on December 24th. My feeling is that it's when we're in that November, December period that you're making decisions that you're not altogether confident about, that probably feel a little risky for you. And you're trying to make peace with, oh my goodness, I really went ahead and did this, in a relationship, or I really went ahead and committed to a business association, or I really committed to, I don't know, like being a single parent or something along those lines. And so that will be where that is. And so there might be a kind of feeling of like, what did I do? But again, what Saturn does is that it closes the doors behind you. And so in that period, whatever decision you've made vis-a-vis a relationship or an association, you can't go back on it. You have to go forward with it. And that might leave you feeling like, what am I going to do? But something that I really want to tell you, Virgo, is that you were born under the planet Mercury. We think of Mercury as the planet of the mind and the planet of messaging and communication. But what doesn't always get a lot of airplay with Mercury is Mercury's spontaneity, and more importantly, Mercury's resourcefulness and inventiveness. One of the reasons why you're so good at solving a problem is 9 times out of 10, you'll come up with the right answer. But on the occasions that it's not the right answer, you can make it look and sound like the right answer. Okay. And that's a talent that Virgos have. So the thing is, even though you may feel like options are dissolving or being taken away with every decision or step you take towards something that you want, you're going to know how to work with it. In other words, having too many options has been too much of a distraction for your energies, and having a winnowing down of options is going to help you focus and to make much more headway in your relationships than you've ever made before.
Hey everybody, Cameron here, and welcome to your 2024 medical astrology forecast for Virgo rising. And this year we want to look out for is Mercury retrograde. And this is something we kind of want to look out for every year, just because with Mercury ruling the chart overall in the first house having to do with your physical health, like that reviewing your relationship with your body is so important, especially since Mercury is a planet that has us oftentimes being stuck in our minds, specifically our brain minds, even though, let's be honest, Virgo is the Earth version of Mercury. And so that means we need to have like more emphasis and focus on our body mind. However, that's not the case for most of us. So just being mindful when Mercury is going retrograde through the fire signs, this can have a tendency to stimulate things a bit much. And specifically with Virgo, when Mercury goes retrograde in Aries, it'll be in the 8th house, which is one of the houses that can have a tendency to create problems with our health. And it'll be going through Aries from April the 1st to April 25th. So we want to look out for that time and kind of like make sure our health is good during that period of time. We would have also just transitioned into the spring season, and people have a tendency to get sinus issues and things like that. So you want to look out for that for sure around that time. Also, the Mercury retrograde cycle happening in Leo from August the 5th to the 28th is going to be in the 12th house, having to do with mental health. So just being mindful to take care of your mental health and find things that are soothing and give yourself a break and give yourself an opportunity to slow down during that time. Really important. Now, the last Mercury retrograde cycle in a fire sign is going to be in Sagittarius from November the 26th to December the 15th. That's not something I'm highlighting super high amount compared to the other two because it's not in the house of health. However, Mercury is finding some uncomfortability in the space of Sagittarius, specifically if it's issues having to do with your family. The stress of that situation could potentially influence your health overall, especially when Mercury is going retrograde and it's going to end up being in difficult or challenging or friction provoking aspect with Saturn in your seventh house. So just be mindful of that. And for that, I would give the same practice as I'm going to give for Gemini rising, but I'm going to give a little extra with it. So the practice is called Sitali Pranayama from yogic practice. And so this is how you do the practice. You stick your tongue out, curl your tongue, and then you inhale through the mouth. And once you inhale in the mouth, you close your neck down, hold for 5 seconds if possible, lift the neck up, and then exhale through the nose. So I'm just going to do the practice, and I'm going to be inviting people to start with 1 to 3 minutes of this, and then moving forward from that space. And also, if you need a practitioner, find one in your local environment, or feel free to reach out so that you can find more tools. And if you don't feel like these instructions are adequate for you, or you don't feel comfortable, then you need to reach out and find a practitioner to work with. So here's how the practice goes. And you would just do that breath continuously, like I was saying, starting out with like maybe 1 to 3 minutes and then increasing your time from there. And also for Virgo rising, while doing that, just feeling into the digestive tract as a whole and just feeling the cooling sensation come into the body, relaxing deeply as possible. And also be mindful with Virgo rising. If you want to think about something, think about your breath. Have a blessed 2024. Peace.
Hey Virgos, I'm Tiffany Harlick, and if you have a Virgo sun, moon, or rising, you are in the right place, or if you're watching for a Virgo that you love. And by way of a quick introduction, my promise to you is to deliver clear, concise, and accurate information, because I have a Virgo midheaven, and your promises to me is to not use astrology against yourself, to follow your heart, follow your intuition, follow your free will. You were born wise, Virgo. Your spiritual opportunity in 2024 is to reconnect with your core values. These are the energetic pillars of your life. And so I want to make sure that you know how to access those as they change, because when you are in touch with your core values in 2024, it's going to align you with the people, places, situations, jobs, relationships, anything that you want to come back in a way that you're going to recognize and see at a soul level that is for you. This is a year about understanding values and worth, about financial stewardship. I see some good things for your money this year. And it is about your soul responsibility with that financial stewardship. So do you want some kind of accountability buddy to work with on these themes? Your mantras are, I'm valuable because of who I am. I'm open to seeing things in a new way. I'm excited by the future developments of life and all the good things coming my way. Your ruling planet is Mercury, which is a primal motivating factor in helping you decide how you want to work with the energy this year. So how do you rise to the occasion of your inner Mercury? It's to understand what thoughts you're going to stop using against yourself. Where are you going to stop fighting? Where are you going to stop fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining all inside yourself? Where are you going to be in alignment with the green lights? So as we consider your core values, we're going to look at this through the 4 quarters of the year. The first one is about spiritual funds. You know, what would it be like if you had the spiritual funding to do anything you wanted to do? The second quarter has to do with your sacred spaces. The third one with your soul connections. And the fourth one with your lineage and your ancestors. But as we look at the year, starting in Q1, this is about your spiritual funds. Mercury will be in Capricorn as we start out the year here. January 16th through 31st. And this is a time when we're more conservative, more mindful. We have a focus on commitments and long-term vision and practical magic, the things that we can do realistically. The first couple of weeks of January are a little hazy. I'm going to suggest that you ease into the year, and I've listed the Mercury transits as to why I think that the caution lights are on. So going slow, not coming in hot into the new year, but easing in. The last half of the month will show some opportunities for more focus, some concentration, some clarity. In February, or I will say also in January, it's a 9-month. It's about integration. So we need to lay down and digest. We need to have this something that's coming full circle, some closure that's going on. In February, it's a 1 month, and this is about our focus, it's about our intention, and it's easy to get into the weeds with analysis paralysis. So be mindful if the mind is overly active, overly stimulated, and what are the exercises you can do to name your mind and call your mind out. So I have an exercise where I call my mind Mindy. And I'll say, if I have some unuseful thoughts or I'm getting stuck in stinking thinking, I'll just say, thanks, Mindy. That's a future thought. Don't need it. Thanks, Mindy. That's a past thought. Don't need it. How can I stay here in this present moment? I think that'll help you. Stay curious when the Mercury goes into Aquarius. That's the sign of the future and the collective. And maybe somebody out there in your network has the answers that you've been looking for. In February, you're going to be very connected into your intuition. You were born wise. You have psychic senses. You have real senses that extend out into the psychic world. So pay attention to them. The vibes don't lie. In March, this is a 2-month. This is about the relationships that you have with other people, but also the relationship that you have with your higher power. This is a month of co-creation. So if you've been trying to do things alone, this is a month to request some spiritual support or some network support, or just call up your cousin or your friend and do the activity together. There is a plot twist middle of March as we lead up to the March eclipse. This is happening in 5 degrees of Libra. So where does that hit your chart specifically will be very interesting. But for all of you Virgos out there watching, this eclipse is in the 2nd house of your values, your worth. How you value yourself is not equal to your net worth, right? This is a sacred reunification with your worth, your values. This is the eclipse support themes for the 2nd and 8th houses. And so are you needing some space to work through some of your financial journey without being rescued? Do you need to stop rescuing somebody else that you might be enabling? Is there some kind of enmeshment or entanglement or awareness of catharsis of lessons that are happening around money, shared resources, shared land? And just that underlying sense of being worthy, Your self-development is to use the Silva method. And so this is what I'm telling all of the signs about. It's an old trick that I have brought back up for myself this year. Jose Silva he created a technique to access higher states of consciousness. And from this higher state of mind, you're able to manifest, or you're able to see clearly, or you're able to use your spiritual vision. And I love this one because he says it will never work unless the spiritual vision you see for yourself also helps other people, right? To be the tide that lifts all boats. For your financial stewardship, I want you to do a little budget check-in right now. And then I also want you to journal about your spiritual funds. This idea, what would it look like if I trusted that my life were fully funded by the universe? I could relax, do the things that bring me joy, that I'm excited about. What would it actually feel like? What would it actually look like? What would my day-to-day, how would it change? And then regarding expenses, you can ask yourself throughout the month, does it need to be bought? Does it need to be bought by me? Does it need to be bought right now? And I want you to touch in with that exercise of core values. And I want you to list 5 or 10 people that you totally admire, that you love, that you cherish. You can know them, not know them. They can be alive or dead. The idea is to find somebody that you just genuinely look up to, admire, and love. And from there, I want you to list the qualities, the reasons why you love them. What is it about them that is so attractive to you? And then take those core qualities. Those are your core values. Leave them up where you can see them all year long. There's a reading recommendation for you. And then as we look at your second quarter into sacred spaces for my Virgos, just know this, that April is one of the biggest, loudest, busiest, interesting months of the year. So we're leading into this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. So the energy is building because Jupiter expands and Uranus makes things happen quickly, right? And I think that we're going to have mass exposure or a mass sighting situation. Uranus is the future and Jupiter is making things bigger and better. And this is happening for you in the space of the supernatural. So working with this idea of a pilgrimage or a journey or something that's beyond my natural sight, that's the energy that's leading up and is behind the scenes. It's the background frequency while Mercury is retrograde in your 8th house of shared resources. And while the eclipse is happening in your 8th house of shared resources and the deepest human bonds, you know, overcoming this fear of abandonment, overcoming some codependent tendencies, overcoming, like if you always wanted to have that friend community and you all bought the land and you lived together and you did the thing, how would that actually work? Or what's in the way of that? Things like this. In May, the energy shifts from that 3 outward, like extroverted energy of April. May shifts into the 4 numerology, which is much more solid, slow, steady, concrete. It's about being a surfer while the waves are moving around you. Many hands make light work. Mercury will be in Taurus. I want you to slow things down, be the quiet observer, and realize the second half of the month, the waves are a little bit bumpier. And this is because we're leading into this June 3rd Jupiter trine Pluto. So big transformation, big change, big leaps of faith are required of all of us as we move into June. And I know kind of mid-June to the end of June that there's a lot of distractions. The 5 is that feeling pulled in too many places in numerology. We're stretched a little too thin. So it's very relieving as Mercury goes into Cancer here and we're recharging the batteries of our heart. You might want to spend time around water. You might want to stay more hydrated. You might want to have a family reunion or visit with people that feel like family. Oops. Your self-development activities. One would be to create a new playlist, something that you can meditate with. Another one, your stewardship would be to work with your psychic gifts, developing them. And my teacher always says to start with one person for a year, and that way you get your foundations and you can explore from there. I think it's really wise. Sorry, the text overlaps there, but your journal prompt here is about interconnectivity, the 8th house, the things that we share deeply, interconnectedness. What does interconnectedness mean to you? What does it look in your life? How does it feel like? What would it feel like? And I want to recommend Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza for you this quarter. So I like the Audible book because you can hear the meditation, and I like to walk and listen to it as opposed to reading it. All right. For your 3rd quarter in soul connections, Virgo, the 6th month of July, I love everywhere I've lived, I've changed to a 6 numerology because the 6 frequency is about the nest and nurturing and taking care of the self and taking care. It's like that Queen of Pentacles energy where all the sheets are clean and something's in the crock pot and everything's taken care of and you can just relax. It's very rose quartz, very essential oils in your bath water. It's nurturing. Now, also in July, if you are writing something or publishing something or producing something or needing to be on stage and market something and roar about something, Mercury will be in Leo, the sign of the heart-centered leader and actor, most of July. You're going to get some more psychic hits. Pay attention to your intuition. Pay attention to your spiritual gifts. And those, the vibes don't lie. Follow your heart. In August, it changes to a 7 frequency, which is about the soul quest and wanting to understand the greater truths and the why we are here and the bigger questions of humanity. And again, we have that supernatural theme as Mercury retrogrades into your 1st and 12th house, right? Who we are, where we came from, why are we here? What is our soul meant to do? Now, towards the end of August, Jupiter in the sky is in a challenging position to Saturn. And so we're all experiencing some kind of inner tension and growing pains. There's a dichotomy, like there's a dialogue going on with what we want the most and what we have to do, our responsibilities. And so be aware of those tensions, because those will come back up in December. As we look at September, this is an 8-month, and what goes up must come down, and what goes down must come up, and energy is not created nor destroyed. So I'm asking you to consider what's going on in the 4 quarters of your chart, your self, your relationship, your home and family, your career. All of these things are being activated right now by the eclipse in Pisces, which is it's in your 7th house. So it's mostly going to be seen through the lens of relationships and these soul connections that we have with other people. What's the karma there? What's the story? Where's your integrity? How can you end well? You know what I mean? Or begin well, or maintain well. I want you to leave some space for grace with Mercury in Libra. And if you'd like to grab a screenshot, these are the eclipse themes for your 7th house. This is a sacred reunification within your soul, that divine masculine and feminine, that inner alignment, that yin and yang, that healing the rift of all of the inner feminine and inner masculine. So see if any of these themes make sense to you. And because of the 7th house, I'm also offering you my relationship inventory. This is what I personally do when I'm bothered or agitated, because I know if I'm agitated, it started in me, right? I can't go to the hardware store looking for bread and be mad that the hardware store is the hardware store. So I've got to look at myself. Where did things go wrong? Did I set up some kind of deal with somebody in my mind and not tell them about it? Where did things get off? What were my motives? And these questions I'll do in order. I'll share with a closed mouth friend, sleep on it, meditate on it, ask for some different ideas, and be willing to surrender that part of myself and start fresh, reconcile if I need to. If that's not you and you're just kind of in a maintenance mode and things are pretty regular, you can just do some check-ins with the people that you love. Hey, how's it going? Am I serving you well? Is there anything I can do better, right? For your self-development, I'm recommending the box breath. And this is where you're going to inhale for 4 counts, pause at the top, exhale for 4 counts, pause at the bottom. And the pauses have the same amount of counts. So that's an important piece of it. So you would inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4. You may want to slow that down and use it whenever you are irritable, restless, discontent. This type of breathing technique will help center you, ground you, get you back in a place where you can respond from the heart. So your stewardship has to do with relationship maintenance, which I gave you a great slide on. And an activity could be to journal about what it's like to be on the other side of you. What is that like? What does it feel like for the other person? Just do some discovery and do some awareness. So a book recommendation I have for you is Science of the Breath. You could check out like Wim Hof. You could check out James Nestor's book. There's a lot of good breathwork books out there. I like this one. It's short and sweet and classic. So in your 4th quarter, this is having to do with your lineage and your ancestry, Virgo. In October, the eclipse will happen in your 2nd house of money again. So that's 3 times this year that we're looking at themes around finances and income and worth and value and how we value ourselves. I want you to pause when agitated. And the last half of October, I want you to look at this Mercury trine Saturn, but opposing Uranus. I want you to think outside the box and find your niche. Where's the niche? For me, this would be like astrology and beekeeping, and putting those 2 things together in a Venn diagram and finding some similarities. I want you to fine tune what your niche is and see if that helps you make some connections or put some puzzle pieces together, or just helps you explore your own creative self-expression. In November, okay, so October was a 9, that integration that we felt in January. November is a 1, that focus that we felt in February. This helps us with our spiritual vision. Mercury has moved into Sagittarius and then will retrograde there in Sagittarius. And this goes into your 4th house of home and roots and refuge and people with a shared past, right? Your childhood home, right? Areas to excavate, areas to explore. This could be the home you live in now. It could be that you want to expand your home with Sagittarius there. And so I want you to create a vision board here. Mercury trines Neptune, activating your intuition, your creativity, your spiritual vision. And then I want you to use this in a way that helps you understand something about where you came from and where you're going. In December, it's a 2-month, just like March. Focus on relationships, not just the physical relationships, but the relationship we have with the physical and the unseen world. December 1st through 15th, as Mercury opposes Jupiter, it's going to be in Cazimi, and Mercury will Cazimi, be in the heart of the sun. All right. And so I want you to consider your bucket list items. What are the things that you really, really want to explore in this precious human life? And how will you get there? What are the steps? What are the practical steps that you would take in order to experience those big dreams? As Mars retrogrades here at the end of the year with Mercury, it will go back into your 11th and 12th houses. So this is the network, the friends, the future, and also the supernatural helpers. The 12th house is the house of troubles, but it turns into the house of redemption once the themes are dealt with and explored and excavated. Actually on December 24th, this is a repeat from August 19th, when Jupiter squares Saturn, when our biggest dreams and hopes and goals are in opposition to our responsibilities. So what themes are you noticing? You know, what is in your awareness? You don't have to do anything. It's just to observe. I want to introduce you guys to the Ho'oponopono prayer. If you have not used this one, I want you to research it. The history is really incredible, really impactful. And it goes like this, you know, you use it inwardly towards yourself. You just say that I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And there's more to it, and I'm going to let you play with that. Your stewardship here has to do with your interior redesign. So an interior redesign can happen at the physical level with your house, but it can also happen at the soul level. And they work together, they support each other. So what does your home say about you? How can you make your home a place you run to and not away from? We're researching your ancestry, your family, putting pictures up of your family members. Knowing your roots really helps inform you and what you're going through and what you're growing through here at the end of the year. And sometimes what we're going through and growing through, it has to do with our DNA. And so if you have some kind of physical thing going on, I want to encourage you to check out Metaphysical Anatomy by Yvette Rose. And so she shows us if there's something physical happening, there's an emotional component to it as well. And I find her work to be very accurate for me. So I just wanted to share that as a resource for you. I have one more slide after this resources page. This is just so you can get to know me and find me. Again, I'm Tiffany Harlick. There's some articles I think you would enjoy. If you're on my page, you're going to see stuff about beekeeping. My astrology newsletter goes out every Friday. I offer one-on-one sessions. There are the outside resources that I think are great for you to work with this year. And I want to make sure you know about the digital astrology calendar. So this is something that I've written the last 7 years. It travels with you in any time zone. It goes on any device. I use Google Calendar, but it goes on yours too. And I have it in 6 different languages. And so it has all of the planetary patterns, ingresses, aspects, transits. It has the lunations, the moon family cycles, and it's very comprehensive. So if you're new to astrology, it's not overwhelming because the title has a little emoji. So if there's a sun, it's a good flow day. And if there's an umbrella, it's a lay low day. And then if you click on it, the description has my interpretation of what's going on in the skies. So you can learn astrology. So let the universe have your back and use the code Stormie 2024 so you can get $10 off your calendar. If you'd like to become a certified astrologer with me, I'm teaching at the Lisa Williams International School for Spiritual Development next year. And I offer free classes through my membership at tiffanyharlick.com. Okay, so Virgos, at the end of the day, the astrology should be supportive, useful, insightful. I hope you have some cool money moves happening this year. I hope you find support in supernatural places. I hope the pivots that you're making are illuminated and supported by this astrology. But overall, just follow your heart. This is a journey of knowing yourself, of loving yourself, and of enjoying the ride. So it is my great honor and pleasure and privilege to work with you all. Until we can work together again, guys, namaste.